下面我就简单介绍一下我们的讲师。其实今天呢，讲这本书的就是Eric 也是我们的老朋友，也是我觉得他也是在我们这个渥太华读书会，我觉得讲这本书里是应该他是最专业、最合适的人选，因为他这有一个非常漫长履历哈，我给大家就后来用 ChatGPT 翻译成中文了。是2015年呢，就是艾瑞克在多伦多大学学习这个运动机械学，然后2016年获得认证的私人教练资格，并且开启了就是10年以上的这个健身教练的生涯，这是非常有经验了，10年以上啊。所以为什么说他是今天这本书的最好的一个讲员？然后在2022年获得 FST。2级认证，这个呢，这个是什么呢？就是翻译成中文就是这个筋膜拉伸和结构训练方法，这个比较专业，我不太懂啊，我就直接就是这是 ChatGPT 翻译的。然后2023年在渥太华 Mr. Natural Classic 传统的古典健美赛中，获得的 Classical Physics 中就是夺得了冠军。就是这是很了不起的，就是在我们这个城市这个级别的这个健美赛中获得这种冠军，就是这种传统的这个古典健美，这个就我可能稍微理解，因为经常在我们这个视频啊看到那些比赛中啊，就是多半都是一种传统古典健美，就是非常好。
对，就是穿丁字裤的那种。
因为那时候有一段时间，我那时候记得还在国内，还没来加拿大，那时候就是非常流行，就是在转播。就是那个都是那种，就是一看就是像施瓦辛格，他就是曾经也是加拿大人，他曾经获得健美冠军，后来去好莱坞发展，就是他就是作为加拿大人，他获得这个健美冠军。虽然他最后成为加州的这个市长吧，但是他是加拿大人。就施瓦辛格，大家可能都看过他的电影，就是那个。然后在2024年呢，就是基于多年的这个成功经验，和挫折伤病的经历，正在打造一套以身体结构和长期耐久性为核心的训练体系，帮助身体实现长期的高效表现。这个也是非常专业，我就没法做长期的解释了。然后在2025年，也就是在去年，在加拿大国家级的传统古典健美赛中获得前5名，这非常了不起，因为这是个 national 的一个比赛。就是大家就是以热烈掌声欢迎我们 Eric 再次为大家讲解这本书。
谢谢。我今天I'm gonna do the whole seminar in English just because I think it's easier for me to express what I want to talk about. But if any of you have any questions, feel free to take notes and then we'll answer all of them together by the end of it. Cool? We're just gonna wait for this to get set up. And then we'll just dive right into it. But right now I want to talk about... Actually, let me ask you guys a question first. Who actually read this book? Raise your hand if you actually read the book.
Didn't finish.
Okay, that still counts?
Did not finish.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So the reason I ask is that I would have an understanding of how much you guys know about training in general. And also... how much you guys know about how to design a training or like what training a proper training program really consists of. Okay, so I want to talk about today's agenda first. We'll talk about like the 3 main essence key takeaways that I personally took from this book, and then I'll dive deeper into the book, talk about the 10 rungs. So a quick introduction. If you can see this cover, right? It's called the muscle ladder. So essentially this author, Jeff Nippert, he used the ladder as a metaphor of saying how there are 2 rails on the ladder, right? They represent the mindset when it comes to training, and then the sustainability when it comes to training, so consistency. And then there are 10 rungs. This way you can think about like tiers or different pillars. I like to call them pillars. Essentially they break down into 12 different pillars that compose a complete training system. We're only going to be talking about 10 today. The last 2 are nutrition, cardio, supplementation, and I believe this book at the very end, it's got some training program templates that you can use as reference. We'll save those for another time, or whoever's interested getting to know more after, we can definitely talk about those. So I think understanding the importance of muscle and the relationship with longevity is also crucial once we talk about the 10 pillars. And I would also like to introduce something that I've been personally working on for the past 3 years, which I think this book is a great bridge that connects what I would like to teach to my clients, as well as what I believe the trend is for modern fitness in the next 10 or 20 years. And then by the end of it, obviously, we're going to bring our mats, we're going to go outside, we're going to do some demo exercises, and feel free to ask your questions there. Sounds good? Good. Okay.
我可以全屏吗？
可以啊。
全屏咋办？
I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just start with it. Does anybody have a copy of this book with them today?
Not with me.
You didn't bring it? Okay. Here, I'll give this to you. As I'm going through today's seminar, you guys feel free to pass the book around, okay? Whenever we talk about a new pillar, that's one of the chapters in the book, okay? So let's dive right into it. Cool. So, like I said, I want to start by breaking down the two rails, okay, of the ladder analogy. And those are the mindset and then the sustainability. Those are the two factors to a successful training program and system. So I also summarized the two rails, mindset and sustainability, into 4 different common phenomena that I've seen people fail to train, or like they go to the gym for like 2-3 months and then they cancel their membership, or they stop going, or they mess up their diet and then they went travel and then all the progress just went back to square one, right? So the first one is definitely ego lifting with bad technique. I think all of us have that subconscious of ego lifting without realizing. So we're going to do a quick exercise all together, okay? So if I can get everybody to stand up, okay? This only takes 30 seconds. Make sure you have enough space around you. We're only going to do air squats, okay, for 30 seconds. Ready? This is the only cue I'm giving everybody right now. Okay, I'm going to put a timer. We're going to do as many reps as you can. Just air squats. Go from hands in front of you and go down, okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1, and go. Good. You can keep the reps counting in your head. Good. Good. And I want you to pay attention to the reps, okay? Good. We got 10 more seconds. Keep going. Good. Very nice. Keep it moving. Last 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Perfect. Now, I'm going to add a cue, okay? So this cue, well, I don't have the time to cue everybody's posture, but generally, I want everybody to do the same kind of cueing when you squat for the next 30 seconds, okay? I want you to grip the ground with both feet, big toe, and your pinky, and your heel. We call this the tripod stance, okay? So now, I want you to be very conscious about when you squat, okay? When you squat, I want you guys to think about the big toe, the pinky, and then the heel, okay? And then now, as you squat down, I want you to keep your torso relatively upright. Don't hinge too much. Tuck your ribcage in. And then you go down as many reps as you can. Okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1, and go. Now you're not thinking about the reps. Now you're thinking about the form, the posture. Everything's controlled. You notice how most of you are slowing down by a lot. compared to the last 30 seconds because now you're very conscious, right? So I'm using this example to show my theory that most people, when you're training, the first thing that you think about is what? Is to move. Is to complete the task, complete the chore, right? Time. That's it. 30 seconds. Good. All right, everybody take a seat. Thank you. So the point is, when it comes to training, I think one of the most fundamentals is to be conscious, to be aware of where the muscles are working, what you're actually doing, instead of just moving from point A to point B, right? So that goes back to the second point, which is no mobility work. The reason why some of you slow down for the second set, not only were you just thinking about the movement, but more so you're not used to that pattern, right? So if you have a perfect alignment with your hips, with your knees, with your ankle joints, you don't even have to think about the cueing that I just gave you. You can just move up and down like very easily. But the fact that you have to think about it, which is normal, I'm not roasting anybody here, is that we need to work on the mobility, we need to work on the structure first. Cool? And then the third one that I summarized is copying influencers. This one, I think for today's audience, I think it might be more tailored to today's audience. Raise your hand if you've seen one of those Chinese influencers on WeChat or on TikTok showing you something like this. 就是你一天要做100个这个，你一天要做100个这个，你一天做100个这个，你就可以瘦20斤。Right? Raise your hand if you've seen one of those. Okay, maybe half of you guys have seen it. Okay, for those who haven't seen it, maybe that's a blessing. Okay, because if you've seen it, I'm just calling all those techniques out. I'm not calling the people out. It's like a rabbit hole that you're just gonna fall into. Okay, so definitely don't copy influencers blindly. Be aware of what they're teaching and also take consideration if it applies to you, right? A lot of times you try to copy their movement, but you don't quite comprehend the principles behind it yet. Cool? And then the last one, I think it's common, it goes, for myself as well, which is the, ignoring your recovery time and pain signals, right? So again, raise your hand if you've exercised, trained, or whether it's golf, swimming, track, hiking, or travel, you kept on doing it even though you had pain. Raise your hand. Right. So again, like more than half. So this is another, I would say it's like a mindset shift that I would like to, preach to everyone, that when you actually have a pain, try not to override it. Okay. Also prioritize your recovery, which includes, sleep, hydration. I think those two are the most important, right? Just a bonus point for the ladies. Generally speaking, 2.5 liters of water per day is optimal, okay? And for gentlemen, we're gonna aim for a gallon, okay? So when, I'll probably talk about this a little bit more later on, but when your body is dehydrated, what do you guys think one of the effects would be when your body is dehydrated? Sorry? Fainting. Yeah, exactly. That's very severe. But something more mild. No, you're absolutely right though. Yeah, you can definitely faint if you're dehydrated. But have you guys ever had when you start moving and you feel like your body is tight? So that's a sign of dehydration actually. It's not necessarily that your muscle is weak. When your body is dehydrated, this network called fascia network, which is kind of the silver skin sits on top of our muscles. The fascia gets also dehydrated. And when the fascia is dehydrated, it limits how much the muscle can contract. So that's why when you say, oh, I lift a box and I feel stiff, I feel heavy. Maybe you're not weak, you're just dehydrated, right? It's just one of the very superficial, mild symptoms of dehydration. And then sleep is definitely number one. I don't care who it is. If you don't get enough sleep, brain fog, metabolism is slower, right? I think this metabolism also links back to a lot of the audience in today's seminar, which goes back to your perimenopause or menopause phase, that naturally your metabolism already would decrease, right? Your cortisol goes up, your body holds more water. So if you don't prioritize sleep, you're just adding gas on fire, right? Cool. So, like earlier, the introduction about me, I'm not going to spend too much time repeating what was already talked about, but basically I found there's a lot of resemblance between me and the author of this book. Both of us, well, I'll talk about myself first, right? I started doing powerlifting when I was studying at the University of Toronto, and then I switched into doing bodybuilding, and the reason was because I hurt myself, right, in the most unexpected way. I still remember that day I was only warming up with just a bar, okay? I was just doing a squat warm-up. The first rep, I just felt my lower back, my L4 and my L5, it just slid backwards. So that's the first time I had my herniated disc, right? 中文很多人就说是腰椎间盘突出, right? Yeah. So, and I was only 19 then, right? But my ego was huge. I never really understood or, implemented any mobility drills. I go to the gym, I see, like there's some girls I want to impress, and I just load up the weight and I just go, right? Or I'm trying to compete with my other guy friends. It's like, who can be stronger? So the ignorance and the neglecting of all the mobility work caused my, failure in my training as a powerlifter. And the funny thing is, I switched to doing bodybuilding training, thought by doing more higher volume and lower reps would protect me and prevent my injuries. This is something I'll talk about later in the slideshow, which is the difference between a strength-focused program, right? How do you set it up? And also a aesthetic hypertrophy-focused program, right? Which is more repetitions, more volume, if you will, but a little bit less intensity, okay? So I thought just by switching that, I could avoid all my injuries, and turns out it only made it worse. Both my shoulders are messed up. Even till this day, I'm still paying off that mistake, right? And I believe I spent like thousands of dollars on rehab, RNTs, Chinese acupuncture, chiro, physio. I've done probably all of it, right? So definitely now I've learned my mistakes, and what I try to preach is to make as many people as possible to avoid, the road that I walked down. Cool. Oh yes, I put a side note here. I don't think we can connect it to the PowerPoint, but if the people at the front can see it, that would be great. I'll just show you guys on my computer. This is a 2 videos of me doing deadlift. Anybody know what a deadlift is? Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first video was in, 2016, November 2nd, 2016. Okay, that's when I was ego lifting, no technique whatsoever. And the second video was me from last year. The first video I was doing about 455 pounds, okay? Yes, and I was weighing like 164 pounds, so it's all ego, there's no technique, okay? I'll just show you guys this real quick. It's not supposed to be pretty, right? It just shows you how terrible the technique was. So I was wearing the wrong shoes. Those are squat shoes. And I wasn't even wearing the right wrist wraps. And watch how my back was just rounded, if you can see it. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Yeah, so when you watch it, right, you can feel the pain. It doesn't look, exactly, I just rounded, right? So
You have to be strict.
exactly, but I didn't know it, and I didn't know any better, right? And this was me last year. I was doing 405 pounds with strict form and technique, right? So one reason I want to show this is, the indication of consistency, right? Sustainability, and then like over the years of training, you do build your strength. But what's more important, like the experiment that we just did earlier with the air squats, the first 30 seconds, most of you weren't thinking about the posture, about the form, about the technique. But as you get cued more and more, you're more aware of where you should feel it, where you should be engaging when you're moving, right? So I think this is the foundation for all types of training and physical activity. I don't care if it's just in the gym or if you're a golfer, if you're a swimmer, if you go hiking, right? Technique is definitely number one. And this is what this book teaches as well. So right slide. Good. Yeah, so basically, as you can see on the left side, this is what I did wrong, and this is what I'm preaching right now. Earlier, FST was briefly mentioned, but I just want to give a little more detailed breakdown about FST. Right now, I don't think it's quite popular in the Asian market. Essentially, the fascia network I was referring to earlier is what fascial stretch therapy stands for, right? It's a 22 kg of fascia tissue. It's like when you go to Costco and you buy that big beef tenderloin, you trim that silver skin, that's exactly what fascia is, right? So when you hydrate the fascia, when the fascia is healthy, oftentimes you don't have the arthritis that your chiro or physio told you. Oftentimes your knee pain is not caused by the actual joint, but it's just the tension that the fascia is holding because it's not allowing the joint to move in a lubricated or full range of motion. Well, do you have a question? Okay, you can write it down and then ask me after. Okay. Cool. And then also another thing that I really emphasize on is the breathing mechanics, right? So in this book, whoever has the book, if you can flip to page, I think it's the beginning, when he was showing that metaphor of if, let's say, the water is here, you're taking a big breath here. As you go down, you hold that breath, right? So I go under the water, you can't see me now. I brace, and then I come on top, and then I exhale, right? This is the general rule of thumb of when you're training, when you're moving, when you're putting a box in your cabinet, when you're lifting your grocery bags from the ground. Whenever you're exerting force, okay? So on the concentric, you exhale, right? So whenever right before you move, you brace, you take a big breath in before you make that lift, right? So breathing technique is also crucial. The mind-muscle connection is, again, the second set that you guys did with the air squat is very good, representation of the mind-muscle because you're thinking where to engage with your toes, with your hips, with your rib cage, and all of that, right? And yes, building physique the last decades is just something that would, come along the way. I would think that's the cherry on top as a bonus, right? So one of the philosophies that I tell people, I told Michelle this too, is, as a amateur bodybuilder, national level bodybuilder, I preach an idea where is against the stereotype of a bodybuilder, right? When you think of bodybuilder, what do you think of?
Awesome.
Like that, right? It's like we can't move, we're so stiff, right? We have no mobility, we can't do a split, we can't even fight, we can't even walk, run like 5K or 10K. But that's actually not the case. The best bodybuilders in the world have the greatest athleticism. But unfortunately, the truth is, most people are chasing the what? We're copying the influencers. We want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. We want to look like the Rock. We look like them, but we don't have the basic foundation. So our performance are absolutely different, totally different. How they do a bench press of 200 pounds, the quality and the result versus how we bench 200 pounds are completely different. They're like 90% value after they bench. We're like maybe 20% value. We can move the same weight, but the results are totally different, right? So it's just something that, over the years, you don't really say that, you're just chasing for the aesthetics, but you want to lay the foundations before you chase the aesthetics. Yes, so, and as I mentioned about Jeff Nippard, right, we are both, experienced in the bodybuilding and powerlifting community. Obviously, he is the expert in this niche. He's also a fellow kinesiologist and has his bachelor's in biochemistry. He is also quite famous. If you guys look him up on YouTube, he's got millions of followers. And recently, I believe he also published a couple of research papers on muscle hypertrophy and a lot of the biomechanics work. Right. So the biomechanics essentially means how our body moves, and you understand the basic, physics, the principles and stuff. So let's dive right into the book. Okay. So like I said, I extracted the 3 essence key takeaways from this book. So number 1, we're going to be talking about the stretch position training drives growth. Okay. So when I was giving that squat example, right, as I'm going Can everybody see me? If I go, I'll come to the front. Okay. So if I squat from the side view, so I start from here, I go down, and then I come up. Which way was I in a stretch position? Anyone? I'll do it again. So I start from here. So is it here or is it here? So as I'm going down or up, which direction was I in a stretch position? As I was going down. Right, correct. Good. So the stretch position training drives growth means that research actually shows 60% of your muscle growth occurs in that stretch position. So what that means is, again, we'll use a different example, okay? If we do push-ups, right? You know this the best. You do push-ups every week with me, okay? So if we do a push-up, as I'm going down, this is a stretch, correct? And then this is the contraction. So 60% of the growth happens when I'm going down, meaning that it doesn't matter if you can come all the way up when you're fatigued and tired. It doesn't matter. You can just come up like here, and then you drop, you fail. That's okay. But I ask every single one of my clients to be able to go for the full stretch, correct? Yes. Say yes. Yeah. So the stretch is really important for the muscle growth. So we always try to achieve the full range of motion. Okay. The second takeaway is progressive overload is definitely non-negotiable. And later we'll talk about periodization. Anybody familiar with the word periodization? No? Okay. So progressive overload and periodization would go hand in hand, in my personal opinion. Essentially, you can think of it, what's a good analogy? The stock market, right? Goes up and down. But if you look at the S&P over the past like 1 or 2 decades, like it's up, right? You have like a very steady annual return. So the growth itself, on a smaller scale, on a micro level, it's not linear. But I do believe that in long term, it's not exponential. It might be at the beginning, but in the long term, it is quite linear. It's quite steady, right? So progressive overload just means, for example, we'll talk about it more later. The first month, you're lifting 100 pounds. The second month, you're lifting 80 pounds, but more repetitions. The third month, you're doing 150 pounds, but fewer repetitions. The fourth month, maybe you take a break. You go on a vacation, right? So that's 4 months already. The fifth month, you go back to what you did in first month, but guess where your baseline is? You're going to on a big picture, like a more linear growth in the long term. Cool. So periodization is basically that's what periodization is, right? You break down into different phases, different cycles. And the last one, well, fundamentals before advanced techniques. I think earlier I've already talked enough about consistency, effort, and the proper technique must be mastered and implemented correctly before you increase the volume, right? This again, like this is not targeting to any individuals, but when we go to the gym, we see people just load up the weight on a machine, and it's quite heavy, but obviously we can tell their form is not correct. So the question is, why do you do that to yourself, right? What is the purpose? What are you getting out of it? Now, we're going to spend some time on this slide. Okay, I have some notes here, but this is where we're going to dive deep into the 10 out of the 12 rungs of the ladder. Okay, the first one that I want to talk about is technique. Okay, so there are several techniques that I want you guys to be aware when it comes to, again, not just the gym training, whatever sports that you guys play. Think about these factors. Number one, your range of motion. Okay, and also if any of you feel free to take notes, because I'm going to be talking quite, academic here, but I'll try my best to use simple terms. Okay, so several techniques. Number one, range of motion. What range of motion means is that when you do an exercise, you want to hit the full length of the stretch position, and then you want to contract to the maximum. Okay, so that's what's called the full range of motion. Range of motion is how much your joint, your muscles allow you to move. Okay, don't do partial reps. Number two, breathing. So as I was talking about the inhale, above the water, brace, go down, come up, exhale, that's the breathing time, right? Oftentimes people breathe the opposite way because we're used to what? When we're exerting the force, when I push this table, I'm supposed to what? Exhale, right? That's where you get the force. But oftentimes when it comes to lifting weights or doing chores, you actually do the opposite. So this is something you have to continue to practice as a fundamental. So whatever that you do, right, you're breathing the correct way. And then the third one is the eccentric control, which is the stretch position, right? So I'll use that push-up example again. Even if you get tired, you cannot come up all the way, but I would like you to control on the way down as much as you can. The reason being is what? 60% of the rope happens when the muscle is being stretched, right? The eccentric control is slightly more important than the concentric, okay? And these are the things that most people fail to understand and execute before they add on more weight, more technique and stuff, okay? Later when we go outside, and this is also something I'm going to cue everybody, we're going to do these exercises together. Cool. The second pillar or the rung is the exercise selection. Okay. Does anybody know the difference between the primary and secondary exercises? You read the book. You should know this.
I did read the book.
Okay. I'll put it in a different term. Anybody knows the difference between compound exercise versus isolation exercise?
That I know.
Okay, I'll pick somebody else.
Yeah, like I don't.
Give me an example. Give me an example of a compound exercise.
Compound like the deadlifting, like you use the whole body muscle.
Good.
The isolating, like
Yeah.
you do this like small muscle.
Like a bicep curl.
Bicep curl.
Yeah. You got 95% correct there. Yes. So that lift is a great example of a compound lift, right? Because it requires multiple joints involved in our body. And isolated exercise, like you said, is a bicep curl. It's a single joint movement. It usually only targets one or two muscles, right? Not necessarily a small muscle, but more so, let's say, I can still do an isolated exercise for my quad, which would be, what's a good example for a quad isolated exercise? Anyone? Squat would be compound.
Oh.
Leg extensions at the gym, right? So you sit on that chair and you kick forward, right? Nowhere else is moving but the quad, right? So that's an example of an isolated exercise for the quad. So when it comes to powerlifting, and which is what Jeff started as a powerlifter, is that we primarily focused more on the compound lifts, right? Squat, bench, and deadlift, and the accessories are what we call the isolation exercises, were more hypertrophy volume focused. I will give more of an example of the different programs and how you design the weight, the reps, and the intensity later on. Okay, and then also I want to address the 6 planes of movement. So if we think about when we're moving, right, and this is probably applied to people who play sports more, especially hockey, golf. Most of us, when we play sports, we're not moving linearly. Does anybody know what moving linearly means? So moving linearly is one plane of movement. If I only move this way, if I only move this way, right? But more sports is what? If I move. Rotation, exactly. So 6 planes of movement is what our body are capable of doing. But most of people only train 1 or 2 planes of movement, right? So this is, I would say, a flaw, if you will, that a lot of people train in the bodybuilding style. We train with too much stability, right? So when it comes to my clients who I, want to improve their performance, I like to do a lot of more unilateral stuff, stability with band, right? Stuff that requires your core to engage, even though you're moving up and down this way, but you have to think about balancing this way. So it's a multi-plane movement, right? Does that make sense? Cool. And also free weights versus machines. So this is another thing that applies to my training methods. Like I said, as a bodybuilder, I love to train with machines. I think, if anything, I've used machines more than anybody in this room. but I think free weights and perhaps body weight is more practical for the general public, and I think it's much better for our longevity health. And definitely prioritize your weaker muscle groups is another thing when it comes to exercise selection. Don't just train the ones that you want to train, right? Say if you like to eat steak, you have to eat the broccoli as well, right? Same principles. All right, next we're going to talk about effort. So I think this is a very interesting one because there are two terminologies I'm going to talk about. Reps in reserve, short for RIR, and RPE, which stands for rate of perceived exertion. The first one, RIR, when you hit the end of a set, how many reps do you feel you have left in the tank? So this is a number that you should be asking or thinking yourself when you're training, right? If I'm doing push-ups, I can probably do, I don't know, maybe 200 like these, 300. But by the end, I can, like if I just hold here for like 30 seconds, I can probably go another 100, right? So my RIR when I hit 200 reps is I still have 100 reps left. But that's not the most accurate example. If I talk about, you know, if I squat really heavy, or if I show you guys this video again, the video of me deadlifting, right? If you just watch it till the end, I think I did 8 reps there. By the end of it, so this is a 405 pounds, a Romanian deadlift. Essentially, when you see, when I approach the end of the set, what happens is, you know, I was bracing, my body was turning red, I was out of oxygen. So the RIR in this video, I probably had 1 or 2 reps left in my reserve, right? Usually when you have 1 or 2 reps left, this weight, when you consider the program, is about 80% of how much you can lift, right? And then the rate of perceived exertion, the RPE, is a number that you tell yourself how difficult this is on a scale from 1 to 10. So to me, this is probably like a 7.5 or 8, right? So these two numbers are what you need to think about when it comes to, you know, your exercise. Not every exercise you want to have a 9 or 10 RPE because your body cannot endure that high intensity for so long. But also, not every exercise you go to the gym, right? You walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes, you do like 10 crunches, you go home. What's your RPE? Like 0.5, you know? So find the middle ground, right? Know what's the best training intensity for you by, you know, understanding how many reps that you have left by the end of it. The 4, 5. Okay, so we're on the 5th one now. So the next one I want to talk about, or the book in the book, is the progressive overload. Okay, so progressive overload, like I said, it has direct correlation with periodization. I think this is where, you know, when it comes to designing a program or knowing what you're training for, you have to think about increasing the load, the reps, the sets, changing the tempo, which is the speed, rest time, and range of motion. So 6 factors that you can manipulate, right? So it sounds quite overwhelming, but I promise the more that you are physically active in and out of the gym, the more sense that these terms would make to you, okay? So when it comes to load, what's an example of load? Like how much I can put on the weight, right? On the bar or on the machine, like how much I can lift. Reps and sets, this is pretty straightforward, right? I think the most standard as in just, you know, the safest rep and set scheme is 3 sets of 12 to 15, right? Which is what the general public start with, which is a safe rep range, because that rep range targets about 65 or 70% of your 1 rep max. So it means that after you lift 12 to 15 reps for 3 sets, you're going to feel great with the pump, but also the risk of injury is quite low. Cool. And then changing in tempo. So what's an example of tempo? Again, we'll just use squats. Okay. So if I go like here, slow down, and then boom, explosive up. Or if I just do what you guys did earlier, like air squats, right? So that's change in tempo, right? Decrease rest time. This is really obvious. Raise your hand if you rest more than 5 minutes at the gym in between sets. Or actually, you're pretty close. I keep picking on you today because you sat at the front. So rest time is, I think this is a very, estimated factor, because oftentimes when people rest too long, right, you actually recover really fast, but then the so-called pump, the stimulants to your muscles decrease. It defeats the purpose, right? But if you rest too short, you don't have enough time to recover for the next set. So finding the proper window to rest is really important. We'll talk about it later as well. I'll show you guys how much rest time you should be having for whatever the body part that you're training, because they vary, right? Increased range of motion. This is a very interesting one. So because I earlier already talked about having a full range of motion, if we use the same example, okay, we'll actually use the deadlift example. So can anybody come to the front to be my dummy for this? I'll just show you like a quick deadlift video, Michelle. Okay, perfect. Okay, if we can get you standing. If we can, just get you standing here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can face that way. Okay. So if we do a deadlift, okay, just normal deadlift. We don't have the bar today. Okay, so back flat, bend the knee, hips back, hinge. Good. So if this is her maximum range of motion and she is ready to run her back, am I going to give her more range or less range? Exactly. So what she would be doing here is by going down less, but fixing this part first. Okay? But for example, thank you. If someone has great mobility, let's say if I go down in that hinge and my back is still flat and I can still go further, what am I going to make the client do? I'm going to make the client to stand on a box or elevate their feet to go for a deeper stretch of the hamstrings and glutes, right? So all these things can be personalized, individualized based on what that client needs, right? So all those things are part of progressive overload when it comes to, your periodization of training. And volume, okay? So the next round, he's talking about volume. So this is where I think most of us don't understand how much to train. Like you either train to failure or you go to the gym and you come out, feel like you didn't do anything, right? So the general rule of thumb set in this book was 10 sets per week per muscle, right? If you're in the intermediate athlete, which is like you've been training for 2 to 5 years, 10 to 20 sets per muscle group, okay? Pushing over 20 sets per muscle group is something advanced athletes or gym people can try, but I don't think there's like a significant progress in research to show that if you do more than 20 reps, you're gonna grow more. So I would say anywhere from 10 to 20 sets per muscle group, let's say 15 reps per muscle group is ideal, okay? And adjust your volume based on your body parts. So this is one thing that we're talking about, either like biceps, quad extensions, or squats, right? You don't train the same 3 sets of 12 for all of those. The general rule of thumb is that the smaller the muscle is, you do a less weight, so less load, but more volume, okay? So you can do like 12, 15 to 20 reps. But if you're talking about a big muscle group, let's say your back, your lats, right? You do pull-ups, you do deadlifts, you do squats. So more compound exercises. Exercises involve larger muscle groups. You should be doing more intensity and a little bit less volume. I would say, like one is for preventing injuries, and also you want to train your nervous system as well, because when it comes to a higher stimulus, your body creates more electricity. This is like a different subject, but your body creates a little bit more electricity for the muscle to contract, and it trains your nervous system to be more sensitive, to be more protected as well. I believe last year when we talked about the Stu McGill book, the big 3, for those of you who were here last year, I think I briefly mentioned about how, when you train that nervous system, it's also a lot safer for you on a day-to-day basis. Let's say if you get hit by a car, your body gets into that shock, right? You can brace harder. You protect your organs a lot faster and more intense. That's just a bonus point. Cool. So the bottom line is, in order for us to have progressive overload, to go up like that. We need to have continuous various stimulus, right, for the most optimal growth. Okay. The next rung, we're halfway through. Okay. The next rung and the pillar is going to be the training split and frequency. Does anybody know, or can anybody give me an example of a training split? Or anybody know what that means? Training split? No? Okay. So let's say you have 7 days. Okay. You have 7 days, and out of the 7 days, 5 days you spend that at the gym. So there's this thing that's very common. It's called the bro split. It's that we train one muscle group per gym session. So let's say Monday I train chest, Tuesday I train back, Wednesday I train legs. I take a break from my upper body. Thursday I train shoulders. Friday I train arms. This is a very standard bro split. So out of the 7 days, you're training how many days?
5.
Good. So that's a very standard training split that a lot of people adapt, right? It's easy. You go in there, you just work on one muscle group. And I think this is very beginner friendly because it doesn't confuse people of what you should be working on. And as a matter of fact, I think it makes people to understand your own body, your anatomy better, right? If you only spend an hour just to train chest, you pick all the chest machines and you do all the chest exercises, the next time you go in there, you know exactly what to look for. You know exactly what to feel, right? Same thing with all the other body parts. Another common one for people who work a 9 to 5 or don't have 5 days to spend in the gym, you can do something called an upper and lower split, right? This is pretty obvious. So you can do this could be like a 2-day split. So 2 days on, 1 day off, right? I think this is very common for high performing professionals who travel a lot, right? So you just 2 days at a time. First day, all upper, chest, back, shoulders, arms, right? Second day, you do legs, squats, deadlift, lunges. The third day, you take a break or you do something we call active rest. You just walk for 30 minutes, right? Keep the metabolism going. The third one is called the full body split. So this one can be a little bit tricky. Yes?
Sorry about the question.
Go for it.
When you do the shift split, what's the limit?
What's the limit?
For each muscle?
Like how many exercises?
Yeah, or how long, or what's the feeling?
Yeah, no.
How tight do you do it?
No, I think that's a great question because I don't have a specific number, not just for you, but for anybody, right? All the factors that we talked about earlier, like your volume, your reps, your range of motion, right? And then before that, we talked about your fundamentals, your breathing, your technique. Assuming that you mastered all of those, right? Assuming that all those variables are fixed. If you are talking about, and also which split are you asking?
Like just muscle building.
Let's say bro split, like per muscle
Yeah,
group. I think that's the easiest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go more than 6. I wouldn't go more than 6 exercises. So let's say Monday I do chest, Tuesday I do back, Wednesday I do legs, Thursday I do shoulders, Friday I do arms. Every day I wouldn't do more than 6. The problem is doing more than 6 exercises is because the quality was gradually decreased.
6 it means 6 periods, 6 sessions.
No, 6
Muscles.
exercises for that one muscle. Yes.
Also a question, like if you do this that so detailed split, then you have to wait like 1 week basically to do the same muscle.
Exactly.
Isn't that too long waiting? Like
It's
resting
not.
too-
It's not. So this is actually, this is
perfect.
perfectly fine. Because what happens when you build muscle, it's the same concept as when you lose fat. I think that's a great question. So a lot of people, let's talk about losing fat first, okay? We'll deviate away from the slide for a bit. Losing fat, people want to lose fat where? Only around the belly, right? Like regional. So gaining muscle is also the same thing. Yeah, you train chest on every Monday. You have to wait another 6-7 days to train chest again. But in the meantime, you're training all the other body parts, right? So what that means to your body is that your body continuously to receive stimulus from different other muscle groups, right? Yes, the stimulation of that muscle group is once a week. And that's, like I said, if you do 6 exercises, is more than enough. Under the assumption that your technique, your reps, your range, everything is perfected. Remember, quality over quantity all the time. all the time. It doesn't matter if you're doing 3 reps or 15 reps. So if one session, you do chest on Monday, it would take about 48 hours to recover. So you probably will still feel sore by by Wednesday. For legs, for the bigger muscle groups, for back or legs, it takes up to 72 hours, okay? And for the smaller muscles, let's say your calves, your neck, your biceps and arms, 24 hours usually, okay? But for beginners, it might take a little bit longer. So again, going back to your question, let's say, Wednesday, your chest is fully recovered. Does that mean from Wednesday till next Monday, your chest is gonna stop growing or going back? Absolutely not.
How long will be too long? Like say rest for 2 weeks.
So the rule of thumb is 3 weeks of zero training is equivalent to, I believe, 1 week of consistent training. So muscle atrophy, this is what we call muscle atrophy, is when you lose muscle, right? Is not as, fast as people think. And another factor is, it's written in the book as well, but we're not going to dive deep into it today because there's way too many information, is your nutrition. If you're not eating properly, if you're not eating enough protein, your muscle atrophy, the rate of it will increase, will be fast.
It's also an age factor, right?
Exactly,
Because
100%.
Older people
Yeah.
harder to gain.
If it's something that, like for example, age, it's something you cannot prevent, I would recommend, the supplement called creatine. Creatine is very beneficial for muscle growth, and also for ladies, is very good for your like the cognitive function and for your cycles as well. Yeah, and creatine holds muscle mass easier. It's a natural supplement. If you eat a lot of red meat, you get creatine from that as well. Cool. Yeah.
So another related question. I think I want to have a brief idea. If I want my muscle to bump up, so how many days will a different age, different gender or different age will be different? But there is a general idea. How many times exercise I can, in case my nutrition everything is right, and I do it every day, follow the regular practice. How long will I get the result? And that related question is how long it will lose if I don't do anything?
So I'll answer, so 3 weeks is the general rule of thumb, okay? So 3 weeks, you lose about 1 week worth of consistent training, okay? But how fast that you gain, I think you gotta ask your parents for that. A lot of that is genetic based, okay? Some people...
But there is a bell, it's a median.
Yeah, I think you're probably in the middle. Yeah. I think that's a good thing.
No, you can just
So how long would be?
Oh, like
if I want to bump up the year.
You say you're under the assumption that your nutrition's on point, right? So you have to be eating in a surplus. You have to be eating in a lot of protein. Again, it depends on how big your biceps want to grow up to.
Generally, say like my age and then my eye shape.
I would say within, like if you train consistently, within 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see like
that's fair.
a quite noticeable physical change.
But you do every day.
Not every day. You can't train. You cannot train your arms every single day to have the best quality. Right? You can't train anything every day. It's like you can't eat the same food every day, right? Yeah. So having the proper training split. Let's go back to what I wrote down here. Okay, we went to Mars there. We're coming back. Having the proper training split is crucial because you would know which split is the most compatible with you, right? Your endurance, your stamina, and what your goal is. Right? If your goal is to do a marathon, I would not put you on a bro split. Right?
I mean, in the cases without using steroid.
Yeah, no, you're not using steroids.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, this is we're talking about all under the assumption you're doing it naturally. Right?
But you do it. If you do take the steroid, so how faster will it be?
I'm not an expert in that. One thing I'll tell you for sure is that for the past 10 years. I've always been drug free, so I actually don't have a say. I don't have a lot of expertise.
You allowed it. You allowed it.
Exactly. Yeah. If anything, maybe ask your family doctor. They do prescribe TRTs for people above 55, I believe. Yeah, testosterone replacement therapy. Yeah. It's not so much of like a steroid if you use it properly. I personally don't think so. Even though it is through injection, right? It's just when your body naturally stops producing testosterone, right? And you still want to feel like you're in your 20s, right?
It's hormone therapy.
Exactly, yeah. So, do what you gotta do. There's no judgment here, All right, moving on. Okay, do they want a break?
I don't know.
No? How long has it been? It's been an hour.
No, I think they're fine.
Okay, we're gonna speed things up, okay? And then we'll get it moving out there. So, I guess rep ranges, right? That's another thing that comes under training split. So, we'll just use your question again. So, how many reps should you do? I think I addressed it earlier already. 6 to 15 reps are the most productive, rep ranges for hypertrophy. For the bigger muscle groups, you can definitely do less reps, targeting maybe 6 to 8, 6 to 10 reps. For the smaller muscle groups, like biceps, triceps, you can do 12 to 15 reps. Okay, and how you customize the ratio of, your strength focused versus your hypertrophy focused is primarily based on what your goals are. If you want to build strength, do more strength focused, right? 1 to 5 reps or 6 to 10 reps. If you want to build bigger biceps, don't lift too heavy, but do a little bit higher reps. Okay. A rest period. Another thing I think earlier I already mentioned it. For the bigger, it's enough. So this is the window between sets that people should pay attention to, because you don't want to go too long, you lose that intensity, nor do you want to go too short that you're not recovered and then you go ahead and your performance just decline, right? Your technique breaks down, and guess where that leads to, right? Potential injuries, all of that. Cool. 2 more. Advanced techniques, okay? So we're here. Okay, we started here, we're talking about advanced techniques now. So this probably won't apply to a lot of us in this room today, but I would still like to just briefly mention several techniques that you can manipulate when you're training. Partial reps, okay? Push-ups, if I go down all the way and I can't come up anymore because I'm tired, I just do partials. 1, 2, 3. Make sense? Okay. Drop sets. If I'm squatting 200 pounds and I hit 10 reps and I can't go anymore, but I want to keep stimulate my muscles, what do I do? 200 pounds, 120 pounds. Okay? I keep going. In between these small sets, there's no break. Right? So that's what I call the drop. You just drop the weight and you just keep going. Cluster set, or I should say like a rest pause set, right? These are more advanced techniques when it comes to building muscle, or like increase your intensity. So when you are a lifter or you're an athlete in a sport, you're training for that sport, you want to increase your stamina, you want to increase your endurance. This is something I would highly recommend. So for example, you pick a weight where you can do 10 reps, but you only do 6. Okay? You know you can do 10, but you only do 6. After 6 reps, you rest 15 seconds. But that 15 seconds window, we call it the buffer window. What that time allows you is for your lactic acid, 就是乳酸, like the sour feeling to kick in. And then you're going to override it and keep going. So instead of just doing a straight set of 10 reps, you're going to do 6, 15 seconds rest, 6, 15 seconds rest, and 6. And I promise you, by the 3rd, 6th, you want to cry. Yes. So this is just another way to manipulate the weight, right, with different training technique. So again, you don't need a lot of weight. You can just change the tempo, change the rest time to have different kind of stimulus to the muscle. All right, last but not least, we're talking about periodization. Okay, periodization, again, is the whole big picture of a person's entire training. So you can think of, let's say, Michelle started with me in September 2024. And till last year, September 2025, that's 12 months of her training consistently. Okay, and during the 12 months, we can break it down into different phases, right? So the macro cycle represents the entire 12 months. Within the macro cycle, there are different mesocycles, which is 1 to 3 months. Within every mesocycle, there's something called microcycle, which is 1 week. Usually a microcycle you can use as a deload, which is just take a week off, go on vacation, let the body reset, rest, recover, eat, have fun. Or you can prioritize that time and work on the weaker muscles, right? So if someone's trained everywhere, but there's a glute imbalance, the left glute is always weaker. I can't stand. So take that week, just work on that, right? But the mesocycle is every 1 to 3 months. Within the 1 to 3 months, you're building up the strength, the intensity, and then you're coming down. You're building it up and coming down. So about maybe 3 to 4 of those mesocycles complete the macrocycle. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I think I just summarized the all 10 chapters of the book, and then like I said, for those of you who want to ask about nutrition, cardio, as well as supplementation, feel free to talk to me afterwards. I'd be more than happy to help. Cool. And then whoever has the book, if you guys can flip to the very back, you can see maybe about, I think, like 10, 15 pages of different templates of the training programs that's already been written in the book. Okay, it's got the exercise name, reps, sets, volume, all of that. So you can use that, take a picture of that, use that as a reference. Cool. Alright, so we're getting close to our physical activity, okay, but I want to do some case study with everyone here. So, we're going to do some quizzes here, okay? Can anybody tell me, just name me one, okay? Name me one compound exercise and one isolation exercise from this list above.
We can't see it.
So, it doesn't matter which muscle group. Just name one exercise that is a compound, one exercise that is an isolation. Let's see who's got it first. It should be pretty straightforward.
Oh, 1 out of 3 options, we choose one?
No, 1 out of all 12. I mean, all 9, yeah. You just name 1 out of the 9 that is a compound exercise and 1 that is an isolation exercise.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cable fly is isolated, right?
Okay. What about compound?
Pull-ups. Pull-ups is a compound.
Okay, good. Okay, one more example. You're good. We're gonna pick somebody else.
It's not lateral raise. It's
Okay.
It's lateral raise, right? That's isolated.
Okay.
And I think push-ups is
That's actually a trick one. Push-up is generally considered as compound, but with different. One of the many cues. Once you tuck it in, what happens to your glute muscles? Are they engaging? And also, are your feet still collapsing, or are you rolling them over? Right. So this is like it's a chain. It's a chain reaction. If you want to fix the knee, which is again the most common question a lot of Chinese people ask me is like, oh, I can't squat or I don't hurt my knee. I never start with the knee. I'll be honest. I don't care what other professionals out there, what they start with, I always start at the hip. Okay. Once the hip is fully being understood, ask me, like we train hips more than knees. We barely train knees. You have knee problems, but we always train the hip.
And it cures by itself.
Once the hip is understood and strengthened, everything else, because it's connected, right? Whether you're quad bias or hamstring bias, we can just strengthen them in the correct sequence, the correct pattern. 就是最让人 frustrating 就是说 like when you spend time and money with someone and they're training you, right, to build strength, but they're building with the wrong building blocks. So you end up with a messed up tower
problems not fixed, you might look better. You might be stronger because your ability to compensate gotten better. Your endurance at enduring that pain, enduring that bad alignment has gotten better. But the problem is always there. So you spend all the time and the money with the wrong building blocks. You take the tower down and you rebuild it again.
How about the shoes? Is it important?
Change every 6 months. Yeah.
The special shoes?
No.
For you flat-footed, it has to be.
So you can put insoles for shoes for sure, but I would always recommend to train them naturopathically first. Okay, so if you have flat foot, grab a towel, paper towel, go home, just grab it. Yes, yeah. Just do that like, I don't know, 30 times maybe. Do it like four or 5 times. Yeah, just to build that foot arch exactly. So build that strength first. Okay. Any, I call them shortcuts. Okay. Any accessories that people use, whether it's for foot, for hip, for knee, they are a band-aid. Even the insole, it gives you a proprioceptive feedback. 就是你讲一塌陷，它会告诉你 oh, I have to arch it again. But does it fix it? Does it support it? No. The only way to fix it, there's absolutely no shortcut in building anything. Whether it's aesthetics or fixing your own injuries and stuff, you have to do the work. Right? So whatever the accessory equipment, medical equipment that they sell you for thousands of dollars, buy them as a supportive system. But train your muscles, train the alignment first. Cool? All right, so if we're all ready, let's head outside, yeah? We use the same exercises earlier. We're going to do squats first, okay? So now you guys know the cues that I gave you guys earlier, the tripod stance, okay? So if everybody can look at me real quick. Big toe, pinky, heel, okay? Plant them solid on the ground. So your foot, I don't care if you have a flat foot or not, but we're trying to bulge the feet so there's a little arch here, okay? And find your legs at a width that you're comfortable at, okay? Just natural, okay? And then I want you guys to do 15, actually we'll do 10. 你应该做，你就不管你的姿势，你原始的姿势是什么样，就，但是要给你感觉就是 you feel secure when you move. So in another sense.
读书会就是从一个缩影，读书会成立的这个宗旨和初衷。因为我们读书会是在2024年4月份由米歇尔女士和8位就是渥太华的就是成立的这个读书会。我们宗旨的这个背景就是在短视频大量的充斥，占用我们时间，占用我们头脑的时间。就是我们读书会，我们是 against 这个，就是我们认为短视频其实对我们是来毒害的。因为任何一种对你有用的、对你健康的知识，它绝对不是靠用手指划一下视频，几分钟获得知识。这个我认为这个对你是，就对人们现在是毒害我们的精神。所以我们读书会成立的宗旨就是说，我们有两个，就是我们要是深入但不深化，就是我们挑选这些读书的这个书单的时候，我们不是说就让大家就是一种扫盲，我们一定是拿到一个就是比较系统的、比较深化的知识，让咱真正能够读到这个东西。但是我们不是特别深化，因为大家就是需要工作，也没有太多时间。还有我们第二个宗旨就是我们就是前沿但不前卫。就像我们去年我们和北京大学校友会一起举办的这个就人工智能的这个具身智能这本书是吧？我们要希望把大家让大家不落伍，让大家进入这种就是智能化时代。但是我们又不前卫，因为我们不前卫就是我们不追求热点，就让大家能够系统化的就能够讲到知识。今天Eric就是说给我们这堂课就是体现了我们这个读书会宗旨。就像我刚才开始介绍，为什么 Eric 是我们这个读书会，甚至我们整个渥太华最适合讲解这本书的，因为首先呢，它具有三个
就是3个就是第一个，他是这个多伦多运动基因学，就他有自己理论，他是这方面专业毕业，同时呢，他有10年的健身教练，所以他不光是有这个理论，他还是有就是实际的经验。第3点就是说，他有非常好的这个英文和中文的表达能力，就是有人有理论有经验，但是他讲不出来。但是艾瑞克是非常，今天大家看到是非常好的教材，他系统的那个就深入浅出，就融会贯通的把这个健身的这个基础就是传达给大家。所以就是我就简单说这本书，这本书是这个 Jeff Weaver 的，这本就是其实也是我们加拿大人，就是他这个 Jeff 这个人呢，他不光是一个健身运动员，同时他是一个健身的一个博主，就是说网络大 V， 就是做网络大 V， 大家知道他有一个特点，就是说他不光是有理论知识，同时他还有特别善于表达，特别是这个跟大家沟通的。所以艾瑞克正是这本书最好的，因为他不但有理论知识，是吧？他是这个多伦多大学这个专业毕业，同时10年健身经验，同时他有非常好的表达能力。所以我代表读书会，代表我们的读书会会长李世耀女士，把这2份礼物送给我们艾瑞克先生。